We are live 364 days a year.
What are we doing here?
If Dom turns at SummerSlam, I'm shaving my moustache off. I've told you, if that happens, it's going. My lip is cold because of a stupid bet that I made with YouTube.
Oh, good.
Wrestle's better than Daniel Bryan Daniels. Better than Okada.
How do you not get sushi after Monday Night Raw?
Welcome to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, a show where a rotating cast of wrestling fans from around the world come and share and debate their opinions, with live comments from all of you shown throughout, as after all, fans are what makes wrestling so special. So sit back, grab a beverage and enjoy the show. Good evening from Swansea, South Wales, wrestling fans. Last night, John Cena retired from professional wrestling, and still that feels a bit bizarre, a bit surreal to actually say that we will never see him wrestle ever again. But there is a lot of controversy surrounding the match. There's a lot of controversy surrounding his tap out during the match, and we are going to discuss all of it and the rest of Saturday night's main event on today's episode of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. So without further ado, let me introduce today's panel, and let's kick things off with Clark Taylor. Clark, what were your overall thoughts on last night's Saturday night's main event?
Well, I've got good news for you, Ben. It's only John Cena that's retiring. It's not all of us. And my overall thoughts were it was what it was. And yes, it was a bit of a cathartic experience, to say the very least, with how much John Cena has been a big part of professional wrestling for the last multiple decades, and the run that he had, the career that he had, everything about it, and the definitive finish, the way that last night went, all of it. My overall thoughts are, thank you, John Cena. But at least we're going nowhere. We're going to keep talking about pro wrestling, and the pro wrestling world keeps spinning, Ben. So we'll break down John Cena today, but it isn't the end of the world. It's just the end of an era. That's my overall thoughts at the end of the day.
Fair enough. Also joining us today, we have a man who is probably in a state of mourning today because he's arguably John Cena's biggest fan. How are you, Jordy In The Bank?
Not great. Listen, I've said to you guys, I was always going to be disappointed on this day. It was always going to happen. Like, I was always going to be disappointed because John Cena had retired. I didn't want to be disappointed with how it went down. I didn't want to be disappointed on the whole with the farewell tour. I didn't want to be disappointed and a bit gutted about that. However, I do agree with Clark. Thank you, Cena. He's been an integral part of this business, an integral part of why I've loved wrestling for the longest time. So yeah, and a huge part of that was the whole never give up thing, and that that kind of it did. Listen, I'm not daft enough to say that a legacy got thrown out the window last night. The whole never give up thing will still stand for something, I think, going forward. I just think it just seems a bit of a silly choice to go with that for the finish. But listen,
we're going to get into that.
We're going to talk about that.
We certainly are a little bit later on in the show, but before we do, we have to kick things off with the match which opened Saturday night's main event. Cody Rhodes, Obafemi, WWE champion against NXT champion. And I do have to say that Obafemi looked like a complete and utter star during this match. I thought it was brilliant, and the same for him on SmackDown as well. This guy felt like he was ready for the main roster. But I did have an issue with this. And my issue is, why does every single time there's a champion versus champion match in WWE, does it have to end in DQ? It is predictable now. We all expected it, to the point where I literally predicted exactly what was going to happen. I said days ago, last week, that McIntyre was going to take out Cody Rhodes, causing a DQ, meaning Obafemi would lose the match. And exactly that happened. I mean, Clark, I hate the sense of predictability around this entire situation.
First off, I couldn't agree more because it was absolutely telegraphed. But all I could think last night watching it was, John Cena was talking about highlighting NXT stars, and we made this match into the Drew McIntyre show. And Obafemi had a heck of a match against Cody Rhodes and looked like a star, as you mentioned. And we overshadowed it with with Drew McIntyre. And I think Drew's awesome. Don't get me wrong. But can we be a little bit more creative in what we actually got? And then look, they're friends again. I'm sick of this with Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes was stern with Obafemi on Friday night. On Saturday, they're buddy now because Drew inserted himself into the situation. I don't know if I could have been more disappointed, honestly, in the results of the match, because it was so well wrestled until the finish. And it just was like it was putting a pin in a balloon, right? And just watching it deflate all at once is what it felt like. There was no big fighting off Drew McIntyre. Two champions, Obafemi and Cody Rhodes, means nothing. It's 2-on-1 with baby faces. Like, I'm frustrated, to say the very least, Ben.
And you are justified in being frustrated as well, because like you said, after the match, I wanted Obafemi to be furious, not just at Drew McIntyre, but also Cody Rhodes. But instead, like you said, they were buddy. And to me, that just felt wrong. Jordy, I want to get your thoughts.
Very much the same as you guys on this. Listen, I'd rather have had Obafemi in the main event against Cena and have that as the last match, but we'll talk about that at the end. I completely agree, and it was telegraphed. It was a shame. There was a little bit of me at the time because I always knew it was going to end in an interruption, but like, I feel like it would have been better to do a ref bump situation and let Ober actually get a pin, and then he's actually beat Cody Rhodes on not a PLE, but on the main roster, albeit with a kick in the face from Drew. But like, if I'm Ober, I'm taking that. Like, you know what I mean? I'm taking that chance. I'm getting the 1, 2, 3, and I'm getting the one over the QB1, essentially. I was going to say the WWE champion, but he is more than that. To get a win over Cody on a big show like that, no matter how he went about it, even if it did come with a kick in the face from Drew, I think it would have been great. So I would have preferred to see a ref bump. At the time, it didn't enter my, I was like, was this, because it felt rushed. I didn't know if we'd rushed to finish because Cody's ear was like, blood was like running out of his ear, and like, that's never good. Like, we see blood quite often, we see color. To see it actually running out of someone's ear, I was a little bit concerned. I was like, we should get that checked. But then it soon, like, even by the time him and Ober were shaking hands, it was quite clear that his ear had stopped bleeding and stuff like that. So obviously wasn't anything serious. But yeah, I don't know. Ober looked like a star, which is something I think we can take from it. I agree. It kind of did put the spotlight on Drew Mac a little bit for something that was all supposed to be all about NXT stars. But I do think if we were to achieve Obafemi looking like a star, I think we did achieve that. But I think we could have done that 2 months ago, to be honest.
I will say, Jordy, when it comes to the ear thing, I was concerned as well. But, you know, Cody's still got some cauliflower ear from his amateur wrestling days. And I actually think that got sliced. And so because that fills with fluid. So I think it was a mix of fluid and blood. And that's why it made it look a lot worse than what the actual
it made it look
emergency was, right? But I think that was it was more of a popped cauliflower ear than it was like an inner ear bleeding, right?
Not often you see, if somebody's going to blade themselves, if someone's going to get some color on the face, you very seldom will see them go for the ear. So that's why in it, I was like, wow, that
would be a new one.
And the other factor to me though is if it's bleeding from the inner ear, you have to throw up the X.
Yeah,
that's
what
like
it looked like.
It
looked like there was blood.
Yeah, it looked like it was
like. So if there was maybe supposed to be a ref bump spot and they were just like, they get Drew out here now, just get the match DQ'd. We need to check Cody's ear. But like I say, I was hoping that was the case, but it came quite clear.
Yeah.
2 minutes later when Cody's ear was no longer bleeding.
And that's why
he was shaking hands with Ober that he was fine. And I was like,
that's why I think with the cauliflower ear situation, that's one of those where like if you've had it once, it can refill with fluid very easily.
Yeah.
And like if you like poked it with a pin, it almost like, right? That sounds gross. Sorry, not to get all like, But that
No,
it'll just
I do see what you mean, and Jordy, I get your point as well. But like you said, he was okay a few minutes later. I don't think they rushed this because every other match on this card was even shorter than this one. It was, apart from Cena Gunther, obviously, but it was weird. It felt like they were kind of rushing through the entire night as well, which is perhaps part of a bigger conversation. But let's see what the comments are saying, because Fernando thinks that Cody and Drew is going absolutely nowhere. Ian says Oba benefited no matter the result, and he will be ready for the big stage after WrestleMania. I think McIntyre and Obafemi could happen at WrestleMania after last night, and that was part of my original prediction as well. And Eddie Walker saying if Vince was still in charge, Obafemi would be WWE champion by now.
That's a stretch, but I mean, I like the idea of Obafemi being WWE champion. My hope was Oba McIntyre as well. We had that discussion for sure on the show together, Ben, this week, and it didn't feel like we actually built towards that. It felt like we built.
Oh, we did.
We built more towards Cody McIntyre again.
Obviously, that's the imminent future.
If I had to predict anything, we're probably going to get a Cody McIntyre spin-off. It's going to culminate before the Royal Rumble happens, and during the Royal Rumble, Oba will eliminate Drew, and then that's maybe the start of their spin-off to a match at Mania. They could end up both in the chamber, because I'd love to see Oba in the chamber.
No, but then he'd have to take a pin, though. I mean, I know McIntyre could cost him, but to be honest, I just do the Rumble thing, just like you said, and then do the Mania match. I think there's enough they could do that, and it would be a big, proper first match for Obafemi on the main roster. Up next, let's talk about Sol Ruca versus Bayley, because Sol Ruca, just like Obafemi, showed that she is somebody who is a tremendous talent, who has a really bright future. Now, I will say there was quite a few moments which looked a little bit rough in this match. There was a few things, just chemistry wasn't essentially there. You could tell Sol Ruca was still a little bit green, but that's to be expected in a match like this. It was still a great showing, and in the end, Sol Ruca got the win. Bayley took another L. I mean, I cannot get my head around what on earth is going on here, because Bayley was repackaged a couple of months ago. Suddenly, that gimmick has just seemingly disappeared. It all makes absolutely no sense to me, Jordy, at all.
Yeah, I get your point there. I will say that the commentators did acknowledge it. They kind of said that Bayley's been having internal struggles the past few months and stuff like that. And even when they said it, I was kind of like, are we still doing that? Like, I forgot what, and I liked it. Don't get me wrong. I've been really intrigued to see where it goes. And they have teased it a little bit with her and Lyra. I get it. It was a roll up. I will say that. As far as taking a pin goes and damaging someone, a roll up is the best way to do it. It's kind of like, oh, I need to be more on my game next time. They caught me off guard. And I'm happy that Sol Ruca got the win. I honestly am. Like, I was sat watching it with my wife, and she turned to me and said, do you think Sol's going to get the win? And I was like, I'd love her to. And then literally like 2 minutes later, she got the win. And I was like, okay. And I think you're right. It wasn't a perfect match. There's definitely moments where you could see that, and it ain't Bayley that's green. And that's no disrespect to Sol at all. She's absolutely incredible. 26 years old. You're looking at a future main eventer for decade plus. Like, she is so talented. She does it all seamlessly. She does the sort of things that you see Rey Mysterio do, but at 5'9", and because of how tall she looks in comparison to a lot of the other female wrestlers on the roster, she looks taller than 5'9", and she's doing all this stuff that I'm like, it's just, and it all looks seamless. The Irish whip into the handstand, into the kind of backwards moonsault into the Hurricane Rana. She's not looking like she's planning this stuff out. It looks like, and this is the biggest compliment I can give someone, it looks like a Jackie Chan movie where she's just improvising with what is happening in front of her. She doesn't really know exactly what she's going to do, but she's going to do a flip or a handstand or some kind of acrobatics to find a way to reverse these moves. And it's someone that you're going to want to go and watch. It's someone that she's going to sell tickets. Kids are going to want to go and see her. She's the type of person sort of in that Jeff Hardy remit where she's probably going to be responsible for some hospital bills because people are going to be trying to do the soul snatcher off in playgrounds and it ain't going to work. But I think, yeah, she is something that is such a hot commodity, such a valuable asset to WWE going forward, and I cannot wait to see the future. We said goodbye to John Cena last night. I feel like we said hello to Sol Ruka and her career.
Absolutely. And you can say that for quite a few of the NXT stars. And I think that was John Cena's idea when he made the suggestion. And I'm really glad he did. Fernando says the Soul Snatcher is the best finisher in wrestling right now. Bobby Petito in the comments, shout out to you, says Sol Ruka is a bright future in WWE's women's division. Absolutely. And definitely a future IC champion as well. But Clark. Oh, easily. But Clark, I want to get your thoughts.
I mean, here's the thing with Sol Ruka. I think Jordy broke that down beautifully. When it comes to her athleticism and also just her build, that 5'9", it's pretty impressive what she's capable of. The gnarliest part to me is she's been working around a bum knee for the majority of her career. Like she's got a notoriously re-injured over and over again knee and has to work around it, and she's still looks like the best athlete in the ring 9 out of 10 times that you send her out there. The chemistry was a touch off in this match. I think there's no doubt about that. I mean, I don't want to go full tinfoil hat here, but is Bayley being punished for something? What's going on with Bayley right now? Like, I love Bayley as much as anybody, and this pivot and trust her as far as character work is concerned. I think she's as good as anybody in the business, especially amongst the 4 horsewomen of character adaptation and changing gimmicks and whatnot. But it felt like she was being punished in some way to me. And I don't want to go full tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, but let's be honest with ourselves here, guys. Bayley is, you know, we're talking about Bayley Dose straps, the role model, all the success, all of those things. And she hasn't been treated as such for like 3-4 years.
You're not wrong at all, Clark. Something is weird. Something is up. I mean, the fact that they literally just threw away this gimmick after spending so much time hyping it up and building it up, it makes absolutely no sense. And it wasn't like the gimmick was failing and they scrapped it. Everybody was like wondering where it was going to go. Everybody was sitting down enjoying the ride.
Yeah, I'm completely thrown off. I think you're right on that. It just... What bothers me about it is we talk about Mercedes Moné about once a week.
Yeah.
And these two through the pandemic era, if we want to call that an era, were front and center as far as women's wrestling is concerned.
They were carrying it
every week, every show across the board, both. And it is odd to me. Mercedes Moné is a topic every single week. Bayley, not so much. Since Damage Control, it goes back to Damage Control, man. Right? It's not like it just started recently. Io Sky, we speak about from Damage Control more often than Bayley, and we don't talk about Dakota Kai anymore.
But the thing is with that, again, and I said this to you at the time, Clark, when we used to argue about it, Bayley, I do think in Damage Control deliberately was trying to create stars out of the other members, specifically
I would
successfully did that.
But it's over
since
now.
Damage Control, his wife had a bigger issue.
I think the issue is it's almost like similar to the John Cena situation and the farewell tour. I think Bayley is a big name, and Bayley is also someone that will happily put over younger talent. So when it comes to going to the locker room and saying who will go on John Cena's final match, who will be happy to put over someone from NXT, someone that's big, someone that I think Bayley's first on your list, and she's the first person you ask, and she'll say yes every time, especially when it's John. Like, especially with it being seen as, I think she would have actually been thrilled to be like, I want to put someone over on this show. I think, unfortunately, it's a bit, timing-wise, it's not great for her character, but I do think Pam will have wanted to do that last night, and I think she'll be thrilled that she got the chance to do it. It's just, I do feel like it's a shame timing-wise because it might affect momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's taken a few losses lately as well. If it was just this one, I think we could easily overlook it, but it's not. But we got quite a few comments here. We got Wrestling Overtime saying, I think she's going to AEW. Another person saying, can you blame her if she left for Jacksonville? Fernando also saying she's going to AEW. Kay the Great agreeing with Clark. Across the board, dude, there are concerns, and I'm sure we need to talk about this in bigger detail on another day. But up next, guys, let's talk about the team which I like to call Dragon Styles. AJ Styles, Dragon Lee, taking on Leon Slater and Javon Evans. Two guys who were not born when John Cena won his first United States Championship at WrestleMania 20. And that is an insane statistic to actually say out loud. But John Cena inspired both Leon Slater and Javon Evans, but so did AJ Styles. So I'm going to be honest, I almost got a little bit emotional for them watching this match. It was a hell of a moment. But my biggest complaint is they only got 6 minutes. I mean, what are we doing here? If you let these guys go 15 minutes, they could have had a tag team match of the year contender. It left me wanting to see more. And of course, AJ Styles slipped on that rope. I'm pretending that never happened. If anybody mentions it to me, guys, I'm going to say it didn't happen, right? It's fake news. It's AI. It was photoshopped together. All of the above. But regardless, I was just happy for them, if I'm being completely honest, Clark.
I agree with, there's something that you said that was really important there, which is if they had 15 minutes, this could have been the tag match of the year, and it should have been, is the truth, because you put two of the youngest, fastest, most athletic stars in the history of wrestling, Leon Slater and Javon Evans, in the ring with Dragon Lee and AJ Styles. And I'll tell you what, short-haired AJ Styles in the short trunks and TNA could have kept up with these two. There's no doubt about that. He was a heck of an athlete himself, but this match had to be rushed because they only had 6 minutes, and AJ Styles slips on the rope. So then the finish happened. They got in as much as they could, but you know what we ought to do is send out two young guys like Javon and Leon Slater and give them only 6 minutes so that they have to rush against somebody like AJ Styles. Somebody had to look bad. It's not even AJ's fault that he slipped. It's not his fault. It really isn't. It's nobody's fault. And to your point, Leon Slater did his best to go for the cover on the slip and cover up the spot in the first place. He did his absolute best. They didn't have enough time to execute the match that we deserved as fans. This should have been the story coming out of last night, even over the Cena main event match. The story should have been, this was one of the best tag matches we've ever seen. And we didn't get that. And I'll never in my life understand why.
To be fair, it should not have overshadowed the Cena thing. Like the Cena
it should have been the story of the night. Listen,
no, it shouldn't have.
No, the Cena thing is the biggest story, and I understand where you're coming from on that. Of course. But the most important thing that we're talking about coming out of that, because guess what we're not going to see anymore coming out of this event? John Cena wrestle. We're going to break that down. But what we are is the rest of the card. The highlight of the rest of the card should have been this match. I thought it was close. I thought it probably was, even in the 6 minutes given. But if you have the match that was deserved and you give the time, all of these spots land. And it's bogus to me because somebody was bound to look bad, having to rush to get this out of the way, right? It was the end of the car crash match to stop traffic so that traffic can flow again. And it's just, that is really frustrating to me when you put Javon Evans and Leon Slater in that position at their age. That's unfair.
I have a bigger issue, though. I've got a bigger issue, which we haven't actually spoken about, right? And this is one of these WWE things where it makes no sense. Why on earth was this not a tag team title match?
Same. Yeah, that is.
Because, like, if they would have retained the titles, it would have been a fun defense for them. I mean, it wouldn't have put anything, and it would have made it feel higher stakes. Plus, Leon Slater and Javon Evans could say they teamed up together to take on the WWE Tag Team Champions for the belts. Jordy, it was bizarre, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was one of those situations where I was like, "Is this for the belts? Feels like it should be for the belts." They've got the belts. They've held them up, but it's not for the belts. I was just like, well, you might, and like you say, with the finish being how it was, you might as well have done it. Listen, I knew it from the start. Like, you could tell from the moment the bell rang, it was like, we've got time. We've not got a lot of time here, boys. We need to get the spots in, get them in quick. And I think they did do a solid job of that. They got the short straw in the placement on the card, because if we're running against time a little bit, it was always going to be this match, given the placement, that we cut time off. So I feel like they did very well with the time that they had. They left it was impactful. I think people will remember it. I think people in the WWE stratosphere definitely know who Javon is. There might be a few people who didn't know who Leon was, and it definitely got him some well-deserved airtime. And I think it was good for that. And like you said, Clark, I do just want to give a shout out to Leon, because I think the speed in which he thought on his feet to cover up AJ, to then obviously they went into a Styles clash. I think that is so good for such a young guy. That is it didn't take me out of the moment, because he did exactly what you would do from a kayfabe perspective. If your opponent just fell and slipped, you'd be like, right, quick, here's the moment. I'll try and cover them up, because they're off guard. So him doing that, and then it didn't bother me at all. I thought he dealt with it so superbly. So credit to him for such a young man that's 10 years younger than me, that to be able to think on the feet that quickly, when sometimes we see people who've been wrestling for years, when something goes a little bit wrong, that they look a little bit lost themselves, and they look to the ref, and he just knew what to do. So big shout out for that. Wish they got longer. It's weird that we're probably going to speak about this match longer than the actual match was itself. Yeah. So that's not a great thing. That's not a good stat. Like, it should have been longer. And hopefully we will get maybe they'll run it back. Maybe they'll run it back with the belt involved.
I do hope you are right, and especially, though, if you were going to do a non-title match, at least have them win, Leon Slater and Javon Evans, so then you can run it back on Monday Night Raw and have them win. But I want to read out a couple of these comments before we do move on, because Bobby Petito rightfully saying that Leon Slater is a great talent from the UK. I was watching him in person in Progress a couple of years ago, and now, I mean, he's on top of the world. It is crazy. Wrestling Overtime saying on Instagram, they said Dragon and AJ defended their belts, but they didn't. And it's actually worse than that too, because they changed on the WWE official website twice whether it was for the belts or not, and in the end it wasn't. But nobody seemed to know, and it kind of just felt like a complete and utter mess. And number one also bringing up, why did it get less than 7 minutes? And also we got another comment here as well from Eddie Walker saying they needed way more time, and Fernando Zaya saying the same thing as well. But guys, we now need to talk about the big headline coming out of Saturday night's main event, don't we? Because John Cena is now retired from the WWE. But the controversy is that he tapped out. His last moments in the history of his character arc is him actually giving up. And for 20 years, he has never given up. Yes, before this gimmick, he did. But since he's created the Never Give Up gimmick, he never has done. And some people are saying it's poetic, and I understand that. But a lot more people are saying that this hurts the legacy of his character. And I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of inclined to agree. And quite often in wrestling, people say, oh, because of this, I'm going to stop watching. And then 2 months later, they start watching again. But the difference this time is it seems to be way more casual fans who are saying that compared to the loud, hardcore audience, which normally are the ones to threaten to stop watching, even though they never do. And I do think casual fans are way more likely to actually stop watching in comparison to hardcore ones. Do I think this is going to be the death of WWE? Absolutely not. I think people will forget about this really soon. But do I think he should have just passed out instead of tapping out? Absolutely. Now, Jordy, like I said earlier on in this show, You are a huge John Cena fan. You are one of the biggest John Cena fans. So I think it is only right we start with you here. I want to get your perspective.
Yeah, disappointed, man. Disappointed, but not shocked, given the farewell tour in the entirety. It kind of was a sum up of that to me. It just felt like. I mean, I said to you guys in the chat, I do think it's to have the finish like that. I genuinely believe is the worst booking decision since having Brock beating Taker at WrestleMania. I genuinely believe that. I think it's given me the exact same feeling in my stomach of I don't know how much longer I can do this, because it's been so many little things throughout this tour as a John Cena fan. Like, we turned him heel, which was an iconic moment. I thought, oh, we're going to get a great heel run. That didn't happen. We just went back on it. The amount of times, right? The amount of times that I heard Triple H say early on, John Cena has earned the right to go out the way he wants, right? We heard it. He said it so many times in so many interviews. And then it's come out with a month to go that John Cena actually didn't get to go out the way he wanted. The way he wanted to go out was to do 200 plus dates and be on the road full time and do it properly. And WWE said, no, you can have 36. So, and even on the pre-show last night, Shawn Michaels himself said, look, John Cena has picked up the phone anytime. We've called him and said, whatever you need. So tonight we've said, whatever you need. And it's like, throughout this whole thing, it's not been that, though. You've not done that. You've done what you wanted to do. Like, and last night was just a summary of that to me. I do think right now, there's a lot of people, like, man, they showed the Make-A-Wish montage about people saying how important Never Give Up is to them. Like, and then to make the decision to have him give up. Like, I speak to people who aren't within this wrestling stratosphere and the IWC that we're a huge part of, right? And one of my friends said to me, why not just have him pass out? Surely that's a better option. And I'm like, the fact that you've said that, and you're not even, like, you used to watch wrestling when you were 10. You're not in it anymore. And even he knew. And it was like, that is such, why would you make him give up? And like I said to you guys, in a more comic way, it is like Stone Cold coming out on his last match, getting thrown a couple of beers, and then stopping, grabbing a mic, throwing the cans away and going, I don't drink anymore. It's like, what? No, the past 20 years, you've been the guy that picks up cans and smashes them in the ring and necks them. You don't throw that away now. But with this, it's so much deeper. It's the whole never give up thing is so much deeper. I don't think it does anything for Gunther. I really don't. He feels no bigger to me than he was yesterday. He's Gunther the Terminator, Gunther the 666-day IC world record reigning champion, the guy that can just chop people down for fun. He's still that. He choked out John Cena, who's 10 years his senior. Gunther's a submission specialist. Like, it's just, I don't get it. Cena should have gone out never giving up. He should have just passed out, woke back up. You could have even had a moment where you make Gunther a little bit more human, where he almost like nods at him or he raises his arm or something like that. And then you've actually added a new layer into Gunther's character, a little bit of human, a little bit of like, oh, I can get around to liking this guy actually. But now he's just still the guy that, yeah, we get it. He's the monster heel. We don't like Gunther. I think people have said that it was a perfect way out. If it was a perfect finish, Triple H is not getting chanted AEW at him. Like, the way they did not envision that reaction last night. They thought it was gonna all go down smooth and everyone was just gonna forget about it. People aren't gonna forget about this so soon, I don't think.
Yeah, I do have to agree with you there, Jordy. I do also, though, have to disagree slightly because Gunther 100% now has more heat and he's going to get booed louder. But the question is, would he have gotten as much heat if John Cena just passed out? And I think the answer is actually yes. I think he would have still been booed out of that building. I think he would have still been booed on tomorrow night's Raw. but I don't think John Cena actually tapping out, there was much of a point in it. And that's a thing which I'm kind of noticing. A lot of hardcore wrestling fans actually don't have an issue with this because they understand that when you leave professional wrestling, you put somebody over. But
Yeah.
they're not realizing that for the casual fans, for the people who just love John Cena, they might not watch Raw on a, on a week-to-week basis, that John Cena's gimmick to them meant something a lot bigger. So him tapping out, it's kind of pun intended, F you to them. And DCX Warlord says Gunther shouldn't retire AJ Styles. Jeremy says, I feel like they should have built a storyline behind Cena and Gunther. We
Like
got
having
wrestling
down before, like, do you know what I mean? It's mental.
horrifying.
It's crazy.
It's so bad.
We got
Listen,
nothing.
I'll get to you in a second, Clark, but I want to read out these comments very quickly first because DCX Warlord is saying the fact that Triple H laughed when the crowd were booing him, kind of summarizes all of it. Numero One saying that John Cena versus Gunther was a fantastic match, but it made him cry over Cena retiring. But that's why I will agree, because the match itself was fantastic. But Clark, are you on the same page as Jordy here? Did this kind of feel like an insult to you?
I couldn't be more on the same page, and not only you couldn't have quantified that better. It felt like a direct insult to my intelligence. The fact that he tapped out, that's ridiculous. With a smile on his face. If he tapped out begging for air, gasping for air, and finally with his last breath of his wrestling career tapped out, okay, I'm cool with that. He laughed at me for getting emotionally invested in all of this, for believing all of those things. That's what it looked like. He laughed at us. He had a big smile on his face, and then he tapped out. He quit. You must be joking. You absolutely must be joking. Like Gunther needed that boost? No, because that's not really what we're talking about. Thankfully, we brought it up because we're nice people. We're being nice about this to Gunther by at least bringing up, okay, maybe he's even worse than he was before. More hateable. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. This is ridiculous. This was goofier than a football bat. You can't make up how bad he did the 5 moves of doom 5 times. And then on the final one did this is the last time we're going to do the you can't see me. And then it's a half botched big boot. That was the spot late in the match. At the end of that, you didn't even pay the last one off. We saw what? A million AAs during the match. Super Cena, what? We never even discussed that maybe he was a shell of his former self, but that's what it looked like. I mean, I can't figure it out in the least. And yes, there's a billion other ways we could have solved this. And if he passes out and then maybe has a smile on his face as he comes to and realizes what happened, but he never gave up, okay, great. Done. And you know what you also accomplished? The same thing everybody wanted for Gunther. So it makes no difference if you flip it. And my favorite thing about it is, bless the DC crowd. Monster shout out. Way to give what was deserved. What was deserved the same way San Diego did after Survivor Series. DC stood up and did the same thing. And I respect that as much as anything. I absolutely adore that. I'm thankful that there are pro wrestling fans that aren't just going to get airplane spoon-fed stuff like that and let it go. And it's not even just one. It's a crowd full of people in a historic venue on a historic night. And they let us know. And not only that, no speech? What in the wide world of sports are we doing here? No speech? And then what? Wait a minute. Okay, I get he played the Marine in the Marine. But he just salutes us and goes, thank you for letting me entertain you or whatever. Thank you for letting me serve you, was the phrasing from Cena. It looked like he wanted to get out of there as much as anybody. I mean, as soon as they played the video, he was on his horse. Send me home. Where's the hotel room at? Give me a steak and maybe a beer. That was ridiculous.
I mean, Jeremy agrees with you, and Fernando says Cena should have went out like the real GOAT, passing out. I mean, passing out, I think, would have achieved the same thing they wanted to, but without creating all this controversy. But there is one final question, which I do want to ask you guys now. Survivor Series ended with tons of boos, with fans chanting AEW. Now Saturday night's main event ended with loads of boos and fans chanting AEW. And this isn't the Vince McMahon era where Vince answers to Vince. Triple H now answers to the board of TKO. He is replaceable. He is somebody who, if he isn't doing his job well enough, could be replaced, just like the manager of a sports team. So my question to both of you is, do you think it's time for Triple H to go?
Okay, so the answer is absolutely no, but I will also add this tidbit from Survivor Series, given that I attended. After the Cena-Dom match, Cena was unanimously cheered. It was one of the loudest cheers of the night his entire way back down the aisle to the locker room. And I don't even know if it was fully like that last night. That's what scares me the most for Triple H. But the answer is absolutely not right now. No, it would make no sense.
Jordy?
No, I don't. I think that's too much of a rash decision. I think that he needs to take note of what he's hearing. I think that there was an element of they were on a hot streak when Roman was in. And it was the whole Roman Cody finish story. Every event was a sellout, whether they tried or not. It was so easy. Since then, though, it was almost an attitude, and you've heard it in interviews with him, where he's almost like been like, "Yeah, well, people are going to talk, but we know best." Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you need to listen to the audience. And a success last night would have been Gunther getting booed the house down. Triple H comes out. He gets cheered. He's given us an incredible moment. He's created a monster heel. He should not be getting booed like that. That is a failure of booking. That is something you need to worry about, and you need to address it, whether you need to get people around him, whether you need to shake his head a little bit, and you need to say, listen, get back to doing what you're good at doing, and take note of what you're hearing rather than thinking that you know better.
Well, there we have it. And I'm on the same page as you guys as well, where I think improvement is needed, but it's way too early to actually put Triple H's job in any real danger, because I also think perhaps the people around him is what I think he might need to change his team around him a little bit, to be honest with you, because again, it's a different team to the team he had in NXT. And I think that's a big bit of the difference.
They need to get a new PR team, because they're not the best.
Not even just PR team. I mean, I've said it. Road Dogg, I think, needs to go. I think Bruce Pritchard needs to go.
Yeah.
I think he needs to essentially go back to the team which he knew and worked well in NXT with him. And kind of, Shawn Michaels is still working with some of them, but a lot of Shawn's team is new guys. So, look, I think they can do it. Jim Smallman was a big part of NXT. He's now just a scout for them. So, I mean, look, you could get him. I don't know if he's up for doing on a week-to-week basis. I don't know. Maybe he prefers to travel around. But the fact is, somebody who is doing creative for the best storylines in NXT history currently isn't doing anything for creative for WWE, but is still employed. So that is something interesting. But that does, guys, bring us to the end of the show. Thank you, Jordy. Thank you, Clark. And most importantly, thank you to all of you watching at home and commenting along throughout. We really do appreciate it. We will be back same time, same place tomorrow to answer some of your hot takes about Saturday night's main event. See you then. Ba 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 ba.